Hi, I'm Ben. I'm a husband, a father of 6, and like a lot of people, I was dragged to go to church as a little kid. And this is Tim Keller. He's kind of a big deal to me. He's a New York Times bestseller and is one of my personal heroes. One of his books changed the course of my life at a time that I was really confused and lost in almost every way. And recently, I got the chance to talk to him on the phone.
Tim, how's your
I asked him a bunch of questions, mostly about 2 of the most common responses I hear today whenever religion comes up. People say either A, I'm not religious, or B, at their core, all religions are really just the same. So I asked him, what does he say when people say they're not religious?
Well, actually, I believe that everyone is religious. Every religion points to something that's ultimate. Your religion points to what really most matters to you. Even if you just live for yourself and you say the only thing that matters to me is that I'm free to choose what I want to do with my life, then your freedom now is the ultimate thing. Your freedom is like your God. It's what you put your faith and your hope in, as well as your own competence to make decisions about how to live life. So if you're living for your own freedom, or if you're living for your family, or you're living for your nation, or you're living for God, or you're living for a certain kind of God, that affects the way in which you live. Everybody has to serve something as their ultimate hope and meaning in life. Therefore, everybody's really religious.
To me, that's a really interesting thought. And it's actually that use of logic that gave me hope. But what about the whole all religions are the same bit? I'd heard Tim compare the world's 4 major religions in a way that seemed very simple and actually really fair. I asked him to walk me through that comparison, starting with Buddhism.
So Buddhism sees everything in this material world as an illusion. The reality for a Buddhist is that there's this unified all-soul in which everything is one and the same. So spirit is what's real, not the body. The right way to live, according to Buddhism, is to detach your heart from individuals. So you don't love things too much, you don't hate things too much, you're not too angry, you're not too grieved, and eventually that brings you to a place of inner peace. And when you die, you go to be part of that all-soul, that great world spirit.
I'm not a Buddhist, but that made sense to me. So I asked him about Hinduism.
Hinduism now sees reality as cyclical. That means your soul continues to get put into a new body every time you die. And so you go through these cycles of life. You get to live again and again and again. So each life is an opportunity to change the way you lived and rectify the wrong ways you've lived in the past. In Hinduism, suffering is never, therefore, unjust. Never. It's always something that you deserve from a former life. And the way you face it is you've got to do it with complete patience and no complaining at all. Hinduism also has a fairly traditional moral system. You have to be honest, care for the poor, telling the truth, loving your family. And eventually, after living so well, you will earn your salvation. You will be saved, which looks like being released from the cycle of constantly having your soul go back into your body, and you'll have new life as you're released into the bliss and joy of eternity.
This was making a lot of sense to me, so I asked him, how does Islam fit into all of this?
For a Muslim, this world is temporary. What is most real is the will of God, the will of Allah. Morality, right and wrong for a Muslim, is very simply behaving in accordance with the will of God. It doesn't matter so much what's happening in your heart, whether you have your motives right, whether you have your feelings there. That's not what matters. What matters is you obey, that you say the prayer, that you go to mosque, that you do the things that you are required to do. And salvation, to be saved and to live rightly in Islam, is essentially the same thing. This world is simply a place where you show that you can surrender and you will submit to the will of God. And then if you do that, you go to paradise and live with Him forever.
So the way Tim was describing it, all of these religions are different, but in a way they share a commonality. They're all about salvation through morality. With Buddhism, you detach enough, and eventually you get inner peace. With Hinduism, you eventually live a good enough life, and then you're released into eternal joy. And with Islam, you submit and obey, and then you earn paradise. And so they're all about earning salvation through morality. And growing up going to church, I could see that Christianity, in a way, it was very similar to this formula. I was told to be a good person so I could go to heaven. But I'd heard Tim describe Christianity in a very different way.
In general, religions say, here's how you get saved. Here's what you have to do in order to meet God, to find God, to connect to the divine. Christianity, however, says, no, you'll never be able to do that. Christianity says the opposite of that. Christianity has a founder, Jesus, who says, I'm God, come to accomplish the salvation that you could never accomplish yourself. When it comes to how to live, Yes, Christians live according to God's will, but the motivation has completely been changed. We're not obeying God out of fear of punishment. We're not obeying God because we think that we can earn our own salvation. Rather, we are obeying him out of gratitude, joyful gratitude for knowing he's already saved us. And that makes all the difference.
Tim Keller has offered me hope and greater understanding of these religions, including my own, and has taught me that I don't need to shut off my brain for these conversations. And I really hope that this video helps you in dialogue as we all make choices that impact the rest of our lives. So I just want to say thank you to you, Tim, for all that you've done in shaping who I've become.
Are you nervous?
I really appreciate it.
No, I've always been partial to Italian food because my mom's Italian. About the thing, and there's great Italian food.
Thank you, Tim.
Okay, thank you. See ya.
Bye.